Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to the Apex Racing League Prototype Championship. And we are live here from the Temple of Speed. It is Monza for round number 2 of the championship. We had a great season opener in Silverstone, and we're looking forward to chucking these different prototypes around this wonderful circuit. It's basically made for them. Plenty of slipstream available to the drivers, and we're going to look forward to some action at the front of the LMP1s, LMP2s, and the rest of the field. So LMP1s and LMP2s in this championship, of course, Pro and Pro-Am per class. My name is Jack Canan, Dane Baird alongside me in commentary, and Marco Barbonera on production as usual, of course. Dane, we always love Monza for these cars. There's going to be plenty of action. Silverstone was hectic enough. I think this is going to be even more hectic.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Monza always a brilliant circuit to come to, and with these cars, it's actually going to be easier for the LMP1s to lap the LMP2s around Monza. Of course, there's lots of straight sections, which are pretty much a dream if you're trying to lap someone. You just drive around them. But Silverstone, not so much. A lot of corners at Silverstone that were causing a couple of problems for the drivers, Magnus and Beckett's especially. Very difficult for the drivers to make a move. You saw some sketchy moments at Silverstone, but Monza should be quite a lot easier for the drivers to lap the LMP2s. And likewise, lots of overtaking opportunities for the LMP1s and LMP2s within the classes. So yeah, it should be a good one.
Yeah, absolutely. So if you aren't familiar with this, of course, we're actually going to run through our championship standings at the same time. So, of course, we have 2 classes per car group. So LMP1 Pro and LMP1 Pro-Am. At the top of the standings, of course, is Alex Salmon in the LMP1 Pro class with Ishmael Yakubu, Hugo Valentin, Lewis Woods, Leonard Rart and Mark Hutchinson. A very large contingent of RLR Brazil Esports cars in there. But Leonard Rart was actually our pole sitter from quali last time, but he unfortunately disconnected right before the race started. So let's see if he can do something better today. It seems that he's actually already sitting on provisional pole, so we'll wait and see how that gets on. But yeah, good stuff from him. Let's see. Let's hope that he has a better day at the top today. He did a really good job to make it back through there, but you can see 40 points for the win and 33 for second and so forth. Next up, of course, the LMP1 AM category. Daniel Civizawa was your winner last time after a massive battle with Lucky Brown. Flavio Figuccio is second. Mateus Drozda, Arias Yamantis, and Matt James are your top 6 in that one. So 6 cars in the P1 AM category. But of course, the biggest class of this championship is the LMP2 Pro and Pro-Am. Michele Costantini, of course, dominated last week in Silverstone with Tom McMahon in second, and Zeb Toineson with Maciek Mlinek, Arkadiusz Neumann, Matteo Calistani, Matteo Graziano, Daniel Bucher, Krzysztof Skorupski, and Alexander Graville, who, of course, had a big off in the middle of the race. Well, Jakob Viderka, Ivo Laubscher, Matty Chambers, Marcel van der Berg, Luke Pennington, Mark Sweethoff, Maximilian Bailey, Brian Cavito, Carter Hutchinson, and James Holman in 20th. And you can see you score points all the way down to 20th. And then, of course, Liam Rance leading the P2 AM category with Michael Seal in second. Kevin Kittleman, Tim Perry, Charles Collignon, Shane Dunn, with Alex Moore, Ryan Eppringham, Joost Baumeister, David Nichols, Jason Marikal, Jackson Bell, Lee Balmer, Sasha Lowe, Jonathan Keane, Nathan Healy, Corey Edwards, and Craig Jones, with Marcel Leclerc at the very back. So 39 in the P2 category and a total of 12 in the LMP1 category. So very clear which one is the favourite, but it seems to be a similar situation to last week, Dane. We have Leonard Rart at the top in P1 in the Pro category, and Michele Costantini is the man on pole in the Pro category in LMP2.
Yeah, well, let's hope that Leonard can actually start on pole this time. Of course, last week he had that technical difficulties, and he got lost connection to the server. So we see the 375 of, I think that's Liam Rance, and he has sent it over the curbs into a Scari and found himself in the tyre barrier all the way on the other side of the corner. So not ideal was that line from him. Sandro Dalladone, fellow Apex Racing TV commentator, he pulls into the pits. He's done himself a nice old 5th position in class in qualifying so far. I think that will be the last we see of him in this qualifying session. It is a closed qualifying session, so all the drivers are out on track on their own. As Marcel Leclerc heading down towards Parabolica as we ride on board on the Dallara P217 through the final corner now. Upward over the curb on the inside. Now he's going to run it nice and wide on the exit. Try and get the most speed out of the corner as possible and then cut back to the inside. Take the shortest line possible to the start-finish line. That is, as he crosses the line, suddenly transforms into an Audi R18. That is Yakubu, who is in 4th with a 127.145.
Yeah, decent effort from him there. As Leonard Rart at the top, a 10th of a second clear of Lewis Woods. Alex Salmon, of course, the winner from last time, in 3rd place. Ishmael Akubu and Valentin. And looks like Mateusz Drozda is going to be your fastest man in the LMP1 AM category. But a familiar sight at the top of LMP2 Pro, it is, of course, Michele Costantini at the top there. So heading into the race now, of course, if you're unfamiliar, we have a 1-hour race in this one, and it's a straight fight to the finish. We've got pit stops to come as well. But Leonard Rart at the top, once again, ahead of Lewis Woods and Alex Salmon, with Ishmael Yakubu in 4th, Hugo Valentin and Mark Hutchinson in 6th in category. Next up in the AM category is Mateusz Drozda at the top, just a 10th of a second ahead of Lockie Brown with Arias Yamantis, and last week's winner Daniel Civizabo in 4th with Flavio Faguccio and Matt James in 6th place in the AM category. Next up then, LMP2 Pro, it's once again Michele Costantini at home in Italy in P1 with Jakub Viderka and Daniel Booker, Maciek Mlinek and Matteo Graziano in 5th with Cam Stark, Alexander Graville, Mark Sweethoff, Tom McMahon and Matteo Calistani, Arcadius Neumann, Zeb Toyneson, Luke Pennington, Maximilian Bailey, Ivo Laubscher, Christoph Skorupski, Carter Hutchinson and James Holman in 18th. And then further down the order we have Brian Cavito, Mats Gravson, Marcel van Den, Julian Bell, Bruno Aguirre, Matty Chambers, Jeremy Bonsato, David Ward and Ryan Littleman, who of course was in a big incident last week. But that's your LMP2 Pro field. Now we have the AM category. Look how close that was. Tim Perry takes pole position ahead of our championship leader Liam Rance with Jason Marical in 3rd. Alex Moore and Alessandro Dalladone, we're going to be keeping an eye on him, of course, in 5th. Jonathan Keane, Corey Edwards, Jackson Bell, Shane Dunn and Just Baumeister. Charles Collignon, Michael Seal, Craig Jones and Marcel Leclerc with Kevin Kittleman, Nathan Healy, Ryan Eppingham and Sasha Lowe in 18th with Lee Ballmer and David Nichols at the back. Well, it's going to be an interesting one. We mentioned there's going to be pit stops, Dane. We saw that was actually a key point last week in Silverstone. A couple of drivers managing to go an extra lap or so, managing to get an overcut on the drivers in front. So what can we expect? When can we expect these cars to be heading into pit lane?
From what we can tell from last week, at least, a lot of the drivers choosing to pit right on the halfway mark seem to be very popular amongst the drivers from both classes. Car classes, but we saw last time out Yakubu jumping ahead of Salmon in the pit stop phase. Then of course Salmon managed to get back at him, so it was short-lived, Yakubu's lead, but he did manage to get that lead. So looks like quite a few drivers might be trying to use pit strategy to try and boost themselves up through the order. And we're seeing now the LMP2 leader of Michele Costantini. He is leaving around about a 7-second gap as per the series organizers' requests to the LMP1 leaders. There is a dedicated starting zone, so they won't start until they reach it, and it is from where the pit entry merges with the circuit up until the actual start-finish line. So the drivers at the front of the field, of each respective field, won't be actually getting the race underway until they reach that point.
Well, let's see what Leonard Rart, who now actually has a chance to start on pole position here in Monza. He is on, of course, the right-hand side of your picture as we look back into Parabolica, and Lewis Woods is on his outside. Safety car will peel in, and Leonard Rart now has got control of the field in that Porsche 919 as they head towards the start-finish line. It's round 2 of the ARL Prototypes Championship, and away we go at Monza with Leonard Rart leading the field, Lewis Woods in 2nd, Alex Salmon tucking into 3rd place as they head down towards the first chicane for the first time, but it is Leonard Rart in the Porsche ahead of the field of Audis right behind with a clean start, and Mateusz Drozda getting clear as well in the AM category. He's right in the middle of the field. Now Michele Costantini, he controls the P2 field, and he now has got to do the same thing here with 1 hour of racing ahead for the P2s as well. When does Constantini decide to go? He's at home in Italy, of course, for Apex Racing Team, and he goes now, and we go green in the P2 Pro field with a great start from Constantini and a better one from Daniel Bucher there, who's now immediately fighting with Jakub Widerka as they head towards turn number 1. And clean start, 2 by 2 by 2 as they head into the first corner, but it is Constantini clear as they come into the chicane for the first time. Clean start from everybody. They've kept it sensible, and we now go for an hour of racing here at Monza. Tim Perry getting cleanly away in the AM category field as well, and he leads that one. But Leonard Rart, he has no connection issues today, and he is in the lead. But it seems now, considering how tight the fight was last week, having Leonard in the middle is a huge moment for one of the LMP1s in the background. And we have a P2, Graziano, off in the grass at Ascari as they came through the chicane. But that was a massive, massive moment for, I think it was Ishmael Yakubu, who got sideways to come out of the exit of Ascari. And he has done a great job to keep that in line, as here we go with Tim Perry and Liam Rance for the lead in P2 AM. But it has been a chaotic start, as now here Liam Rance into Lesmo 2. He's thinking about a move. One of the P2s gets up right behind him in the pro categories. Oh, it's contact, and round goes Stark into the middle of the field. It's going to be a big stack up on the exit of Lesmo 2. And how did they keep it out? No, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 cars get into that one on the exit of Lesmo 2. It's a complete stack up on the exit of Lesmo 2. Absolute chaos. The whole track is blocked here, and this is not the way to start the race.
Absolutely not, and you can see the LMP1 drivers, they're going to be making their way up to that very shortly, so hopefully the LMP2 drivers have sorted it out amongst themselves. There is still a car off there, you can see, as they come through the Lesmos, and they've managed to clear away most of the cars. Oh no, they haven't.
Oh dear, oh no, the LMP1s have had to slow up massively there. Leonard Rart did an excellent job to keep that out. Oh, we got one over. We got a huge one over. That's Ishmael Yakubu, who's just rolled. He got into one of the P2s. Ishmael, oh my word, there's a huge accident. The P1s are still arriving at full speed, and they cannot see around that blind bend, and there's been multiple casualties. Ishmael Yakubu is up on the barrier, and that is a huge crash at the beginning of this race. Ishmael Yakubu is now out of this race, but oh dear, the LMP1s just went straight in, piling in at full speed. They just were completely outsighted coming around that left-hander at Lesmo 2 as they now make their way past some of the LMP2s. But Leonard Rart is actually under pressure now from Lewis Woods, who is leading this one, of course. But oh, they were very, very lucky. But Ishmael Yakubu absolutely demolishing one of the LMP2s and flipping wildly out of the exit at Lesmo 2. But terrible, terrible start for the P2s in the middle of that one. But Michele Costantini, he'll be glad he saw absolutely none of that out in the lead.
Yeah, that was a pretty insane stuff. The LMP2s were there for quite some time. Would have expected at least most of them to have reset back to the pits. Lots of them with a fairly high amount of damage to their cars, but apparently not. They decided they were going to try and work it out, but yeah, that didn't end very well for them. And yeah, a couple of LMP1s not looking very happy. This is Figuccio, and you can see the car crabbing. You can see how many cars have ended up in the pits because of that. And some of them only now just making it out of the pits. So yeah, huge incident there coming out of the Lesmos.
Such a shame, because we had such a clean start in Silverstone, and it's just it's not gone well today for these guys. But oh, we have a battle now. This is the battle for the lead. Oh, that's round Liam Rance's round in the first chicane. He was battling for second in class right there. Gets sent around, and Alessandro Dalladonna, is he in the gravel or is he out on track? I think he's managed to just about make it through. Oh, almost the entire P2 Anfield has ended up in a big smash in turn 1, and a number of cars have managed to keep going just about. I'm not sure how, but Tim Perry is still in the lead. It's Dalladonna now into second. Liam Rance, who was sent around, has managed to get back facing the right way and is now on the back of Dalladonna, who is now ahead of him in the car in front. But that was a mental start to this race. Ishmael Yakubu is just disconnected, unfortunately. Shame for Ishmael, who is not going to finish this race. Just in the first 5 minutes, we've had one of the biggest axes I've actually seen in this championship. But Liam Rance, he's still in there in third place. He's the leader of the P2 AM category championship. and if he's still on for decent roads. They have a huge gap back to the next cars behind. So they're pretty comfortable where they are, battling for this podium. There's no sign of any other P2 AM cars because they all ended up in a huge accident. The exit of Lesmo 2, and these were the only 3 cars that made it through.
Yeah, absolutely. And yeah, really unfortunate for a lot of the LMP2 AMs. There is another driver off. I think that's Hutchinson. And he's now dropping down the order. Something's happened to him on the outside of Parabolica, and there goes Figuccio, I think it is. Yep, it is Figuccio. And that wasn't him lapping the LMP2s, that was him overtaking them. Obviously, he was involved in that incident out of the Lesmos earlier.
Yeah, indeed. So he's clear now, so Liam Rance back into second place with Michele Costantini, still in the lead of the P2 Pro category and pulling away by 2.3 seconds over the cars behind. But Liam Rart is still, he's not being able to get away from Lewis Woods, who's keeping him honest there in that second spot. Just 2 tenths between them as we see Hutchinson now. This is a battle not for position in class, but on just overall. That was Hutchinson making it past Lockie Brown, who's 3rd in class. Mateusz Drozda is still your leader in this AM category. As we go back to Ivo Laufscher as he comes through Ascari, he's got a Graville in front, who was a bit slow through the chicane. This is for top 10 here as they come down into the Parabolica. He's got a great slipstream here, and he's going to be able to pull to the inside of Parabolica and get past Graville, who thinks maybe carrying a little bit of front end damage there as they head through. Looks like the right hand side was just slightly pushed in on that P2 behind, but it's Laufscher, Ivo Laufscher through on a Graville, and Lewis Woods has taken the lead in the P1 Pro category as well with the slipstream on the exit of Ascari by the looks of it, and he's through past Leonard Rart in his category as they now catch up to the back of some P2 category. Looks like Leonard Rart is actually slow. I wonder, is he carrying damage? Has he made an error? And he is now not, he's lost about 2 seconds on that lap as Lewis Woods dispatching the traffic. They're nearly 4 wide down into turn 1. Good job from Lewis Woods, and got to get that done now. He's got to get caught up behind the battle in the P2 AM category. That's Liam Rance, who's just going to get through, but gets through the traffic very nicely. But what happened to Leonard Rart? Because he's just dropped 2.3 seconds to our leader, as now we go back to a battle for 4th in class. P2 Pro, Tom McMahon trying to go up the inside of Graziano as they head through Lesmo 2. And Graziano on your inside, Tom McMahon is on the outside for Ascari as they head up into it, but he's going to back out and hold on for that. But Lewis Woods, the new leader, and has done an excellent job of dispatching that traffic early on.
Absolutely, he's doing a brilliant job up in the lead. I had originally thought that he might have just used up, or saved up, some of that hybrid boost that these LMP1 cars have available to them, and just overtaken Rart that way, but it doesn't seem so. It does seem as though Rart has some damage, so it could have been maybe he's misjudged one of the corners and hit a curb the wrong way. But yeah, that's very odd. I think the only way I could really think of that being explained is by some floor damage, because I didn't see any visible damage on him.
Yeah, it certainly looks like it as he now catches up to some more P2s. You can see Alex Salmon has caught up to him now as well, and Alex Salmon was nearly 3 seconds behind him. As we look now, look at this. This is the guys making it past the P2s, and this is Drozda getting through on him as we go back now to the battle for 5th place in the P2 Pro category. This is Matteo Graziano and Tom McMahon. Calistani is also in that battle as well with Malinek just in front of Graziano as well. As there goes Alex Salmon past Leonard Rart. There's no visible, yeah, you're right, there's no visible damage on the front of the car, so it could be that he's just hit a curve the wrong way and damaged the floor, which can cost you a ton of time in these cars. You can see it visually how much time he's losing on the apex of the Lesmos. We'll see it now on the exit here with Alex Salmon, and gets on the power, and that he's just losing through the corners, so it definitely some damage, and he's now going to use the boost in that portion to try and get himself back up to Alex Salmon, but not able to do so as they head into Ascari. So it seems to me Leonard Rart is just not having the luck go his way, and has maybe picked up some floor damage by clouting a curb through Ascari, I would imagine. since that's where they've already lost the position, as now they begin to kind of go through the traffic. So Alex Salmon, championship leader, into second, but Lewis Woods has just by that small damage from Leonard Rart has checked out by 5.1 seconds. That's an excellent job that he's doing right now, and he's making sure that he's dispatching the traffic efficiently, because he's going to be making his way through the traffic many times in this race. As there is Mateusz Drozda in the lead of the P1 AM category. He's safe at the moment by 3.2 seconds over Arias Yamantis, who is his nearest challenger. Michele Costantini is still your leader in the P2 Pro category. He's the man who's had to deal with the least amount of drama today in that Apex Racing team car, and doing an excellent job, pulling away by nearly half a second a lap over Daniel Bucher, who is second at the moment. Tim Perry is your leader in the P2 AM category, as you can see, and he has led every single lap basically since the start of this race. But this battle still rages on as Graziano gets into 4th place past Mlinek. Tom McMahon is going to try and follow them through, but he can't quite do it. So the Italian moves into 4th ahead of the pole, and he is now going to try and catch up to Jakob Viderka, but they've got a nearly 4-second lead. So Tom McMahon is going to be the next car to try and get past Mlinek here as they head into Parabolica, but is unable to do so just yet. But he'll get a nice run down the straight here. Let's see if he can do it here with Tom McMahon. Faguccio is going to fly past in the LMP1. You'll be able to see the speed difference now as Faguccio, where is he? There he is. There's the LMP1 of Faguccio. He's going to use the slipstream now of the LMP1, but not able to pull up alongside the car in front, as there is Hugo Valentin making a pass, none other than Leonard Rart. So whatever it is that Leonard Rart is suffering from, it is big damage.
Yeah, he's not doing too well. I can't help but think that it might not even be too much damage. I think the Porsche just might not be the car to be in at Monza. I know certainly at least a year ago when I was driving the LMP1s, the Audi was the go-to car at Monza just because of the way it generates the hybrid boost. It's much more efficient under braking than the Porsche, and of course you have a lot of heavy braking zones here at Monza. So it could be down to that, but I don't think that could be the only reason as to why it's dropping down so much time.
Yeah, it could well be. So let's see what happened to Michele Costantini day.
He's on the grass, heading into Ascari. Oh! Oh dear, that is not what you want to be seeing. That's a good way to get some damage to the floor of your car, and I know that the LMP2 is infamous for the ability to damage the floor and even the fuel tank, which is underneath the car. It's possible to leak fuel in this car, and you could see the damage to the back of the car in that last shot. Contact down the straight as we have a couple of LMP2s heading into turn 1, and that is not what we want to be seeing.
Yeah, that is gonna be big damage from Michele Costantini. The front end completely lifting off the ground in Ascari, and I'd be amazed if he escaped without any floor damage there. And as you mentioned, leaking fuel, but it's definitely dragged Daniel Bucher back into it. This is on board with Flavio Faguccio is in the LMP1, of course, so he should be able to make it past here without any issues. As again, that first corner in P2, that was, I think, Neumann. I think we've had even more issues in the P2 AM field. Liam Rance has had this is the second time there's been a stack up in that first corner, and it just seems that, I don't know what it is about Monza today, but Silverstone was so clean, and now you can see that Daladone out onto the gravel for the second time today, and actually does make up a position anyway on Liam Rance thanks to that. But he moves into second place, and Liam Rance caught up in the wars once again. But the man who is Tim Perry is now miles in front after that. There he is, and I think he's now almost 14 seconds clear of Alessandro Dalladone, and he's kept it clean today, which is the crucial part, while the rest have been kind of messing around down the order. And yeah, I don't know what to say, but Tim Perry, he's on course for an easy win today if he can just keep himself clean as the LMP1s and LMP2 pros make their way through.
Can you believe that we're only a quarter of the way through this race? With all the action that we've been seeing.
Absolutely not. This is Tom McMahon who's going to try and make a move past Maciek Mlinek, and does do so on the inside for the chicane, and is clear in front now into P5. As we see the amount of LMP2s in front now getting lapped by the LMP1s as they come through. A little puff of gravel from the cars in front, but they're all stacked up together. Tom McMahon now chasing after Graziano as they're trying to lap the AM category, 3 abreast as they head towards Ascari. That's not for position, by the way. That is just the P2 AMs getting lapped at the same time, and Graziano going up the middle of them as they head through there, and did a good job to keep it nice and clean as they head through Ascari. And you can see Daniel Bucher, you can see on the Delta, he is definitely close up to Michele Costantini, who has got to be suffering, and he's got to be suffering some big floor damage, at least from that big curb in there. You can see the time. Now, he's not losing a huge amount of time, but now Bucher is in his slipstream, which is the crucial part. You can see he was 2 and 3 seconds clear, but because of that mistake, he's now fallen back into that, and you can see one of the LMP1s just had to take to the chicane in the background. I think that was Hugo Valentin who had to take to the escape road in turn 1, and yeah, he's had to go straight on through the bollards. Which is unfortunate for him.
At least on my screen, he's taking one of the bollards with him. Might not be what everyone else is seeing. That might be an iRacing inconsistency, but on my screen, that bollard is still very much wedged in the front suspension of that car. So if that's happening for him as well, as now it's just disappeared, but if that was happening for him as well, yeah, that could have caused him a couple of issues.
Certainly could, yeah. And now he's catching up to the back of Arias Mantis, second place in P1 AM, who in turn is chasing after Mateusz Drozda. Yeah, only about 9/10 of a second to a second between them as they make their way through the traffic. We're nearly 20 minutes into this race. Now these are the cars that are a lap down in their category. So that's Cam Stark, who's the driver who has been lapped. That is, I believe, Tim Perry in front of him at the moment. Actually, no, it's Keane. Sorry, Keane just in front of him. And we begin now. Lap number 11 this will be for these guys down the back. It'll be more for the P1 pros and P1 AMs, of course, but plenty still to come in this race, as if we haven't seen enough today, with basically a roadblock in Lesmo 2. And as we see now, this is Daniel Sifi-Zabo, who's going to make his way past the P2 pros as they stack up on the exit, and they're going to try and make his way through. That's Tom McMahon with Graziano and Mlinek in front. That's the battle for 4th in class right there that we look at there, as one of the cars goes slow on the outside of Curva Grande, and he's going to now lose positions to those there. He's actually a lap down that car. Graziano's getting right on the back of Maciek Mlinek here as they file through. Kalistani's joining the fun as well in the back, as Daniel Sifi-Zabo, who was the winner last week in P1 AM, he's trying to recover now back through the fields. But Mlinek, now these guys are nearly 10 seconds behind Jakub Viderka, who's in 3rd. Now here comes Daniel Sifi-Zabo. He's going to try and get past both of them before they get to Ascari, if at all possible. Mlinek moves out of the way and manages to also keep the position on Graziano. It has been a chaotic opening, running right out on the curb there on the exit of Ascari, and you gotta be vigilant doing that, because a little bit too much gravel, you're going to get sent into that wall on the inside. As Costantini, well, it doesn't seem that he's carrying that much damage, because he's just had the fastest lap in class, 35.9 in that car. But now Tom McMahon is the man who's looking like he's going to challenge Graziano down into turn 1, but of course Graziano has a slipstream on Malinek in front, so McMahon would have to throw a big one down the inside here, but he's not going to do that. He's going to sit behind and keep calm for now, as there's a little bit of a lull in the traffic, but the LMP1 should be coming around once again quite shortly, as we have a battle between Liam Rance and Alessandro Dalladone.
Yep, we do. Two drivers fighting at the in the podium positions for LMP2 AM, of course, with Perry quite a bit further up the field. And Rance is going to look to the inside. He sends it down the inside. Is he going to get it slowed down in time? He is. So Dalladone just letting him pass there, not wanting to fight. They are only 21 minutes into an hour-long race, so it's understandable. And Rance moves himself up into second place in class. But going back to what we were just seeing earlier, we had LMP2s battling with each other, trying to lap slower LMP2s that they were a lap ahead of, with LMP1s behind them trying to lap them. That was quite clustered there.
Yeah, you could say that, but at least they've managed to survive for now, kind of, after the huge stack up in Lesmo 2. But back with the battle for fourth in class here, we ride on board with Tom McMahon in his LMP2, Dallara LMP2, so it's Malinek at the front of the train. He hasn't got any help now in front of him, so he may get eaten up here by Matteo Graziano, who's going to head towards turn 1, but the slipstream not really working for him as they approach 190 miles an hour. There goes the move for Graziano, but we have an off there, and that is the Ryan Eppringham, who's gone straight on in the chicane. And he's had to take the escape road. No, there's contact. Graziano is around in the first chicane, so there was contact there. I would have to imagine between the leaders there, or between himself and the Derka. Now he goes up the inside, and yeah, round he went with the contact. Yeah, and that's not the first. That might be the third time we've seen that type of contact in the first corner, and such a shame. It was a good battle, but that moves Malinek's into fourth, Calistani's into fifth, ahead of both of them. Tom McMahon, of course, had to get out of that, and he's dropped behind Calistani now. So this has been certainly a race of attrition, as Michele Costantini seems to have recovered quite well and is now back up to speed, as we have Leonard Rart is into the pit lane, and I would imagine that will be to repair some damage.
I can imagine that's pretty much confirmation. He had some damage of some kind, because they do have, the drivers have a fast repair available to them, as we've got an LMP1, that's Yomantis, making his way through the secondary chicane. He's obviously gone off at turn 1. But yes, so Leonard Rart, he's taken the pit stop as early as possible, so he lost all of the time with the damage on, but he decided that he was just going to wait it out until he could make the pit stop and make the fuel last all the way to the end. So he's made the scheduled pit stop now as early as possible, and he's got the damage fixed, and he'll be back on track in fifth in class, pretty much last out of the drivers who are still running in class, of course. And he has quite a bit of work to do if he wants to try and catch up to the next driver ahead. Hutchinson is 17 seconds ahead, so we've got a move now. Tom McMahon looking down the inside into the second chicane, and he just about makes it work, does he? A little bit loose, and he just about hangs on, and he is up into fifth.
Oh, that was on the ragged edge there from Tom McMahon. Sideways, gets the move stopped. Calistani gives him a flash of the lights, but that brings Sweethoff and others into the battle here as well in their class. There's Jonathan Keen on his own there. As we come up, there is our leader in class, Tim Perry. He's miles in front of the guys behind. That's at the moment James Holman, who's 12th in the pro category, but Tim Perry is smashing it today and has survived the big stack up in Lesmo 2 and is making up positions on the pro category guys, so he's doing an excellent job there. As now we go back to this fight again, and Sweethoff wants a piece of the action. Now he goes to the outside of that'll be the Parabolica. Calistani defends the inside. Now it'll be a cutback line for Sweethoff up the inside. Now gets a good run, nearly pushes him on the exit of Parabolica down the straight there. Calistani's going to try and shut him off on the inside as they head down the front. But we also have one of the, I think, pro guys then catching up with Pro-Am guys catching up. We had another car take to the escape road in this one, as we have we still have this fight going on. Zwiedhoff still wants a piece of the action here in the chicane, but is unable to do it. So it seems Slipstream is quite effective, but if you have the inside for that first corner, it's very, very difficult to make an overtake work.
Absolutely. We definitely a very easy place to defend turn 1 at Monza. As we have a couple of the drivers into the pits. We've got Valentine now in LMP1 Pro. And he is now making his way down into the pit lane. If the commentary did drop out whilst Jack was speaking a few moments ago, we do apologise for that. We had a couple of technical difficulties over the last couple of minutes, but should be back now. So yeah, Lewis Woods out in front by 4 seconds or so. Alex Salmon trying his best to catch back up. Michele Constantini, well, he is still setting the fastest lap of the race, even now, 26 minutes into the race.
Yeah, that's impressive considering he took a big clout of the curve in Ascari and sent the car straight upwards, pointing upwards. So he's done a good job to get it back. There's the current conditions at the moment out here in Monza. It is 87 degrees Fahrenheit, track temperature 80 degrees in the air, and we're approaching the afternoon, 1 o'clock in the afternoon, with a 5-mile-per-hour wind around the circuit. So it is a nice day for driving, certainly, in this championship. But Costantini now pulling the gap out to nearly 5 seconds on Bucher behind, and he's on course to well, if he doesn't clout the curve again in Ascari, he's on for another great result in his Apex Racing team LMP2. And if you would like to, it's a perfect advertisement really for the Apex Racing Academy, because Michele Costantini is of course one of the coaches over at the Apex Racing Academy. And if you would like to try out any of the setups or get yourself on board on the Apex Racing Academy to learn from the very best, you can check out apexracingac.com to check that out. Different packages available, including one-to-one coaching, and one of them could very well be Michele Costantini, and they are the best to learn from in the business. But we go back to the battle now between Mark Zwiedhoff and Kalistani, which still rages on here through the Parabolica. And we have now further down the other Corey Edwards with Nathan Healy, I believe, chasing it. That's REC Mantis in the LMP1 class making his way through. The pit lane now comes Matteo Graziano, who of course was facing the wrong way in turn 1 after contact, battling for 4th in class, and he comes through. There is Alexandre Gerville and Liam Rance in the LMP2 AM category, sorry, and Alessandro Dalladone 3rd in class there, with some of the pro guys in front. We're right on board with him now as he comes down the front straight to begin a 18th lap around Monza, and we come across now to the halfway mark nearly in this race. Here comes Dalladone on a lapped car in front and gets it stopped and passed. So it does a nice job there to make his way through on a lapped car, and as he chases after Liam Rance in front. But there is Tim Perry, who leads the LMP2 AM category. He's got James Holman, who's still sticking with him behind, and one of the LMP1s making their way past at the same time. This is where things get a little bit messy, but it's managed to sort themselves out. And Tim Perry now, I believe, with nearly a 25-30 second lead over the next cars behind now, as we see this is actually a battle for position now. This is Pennington versus James Holman, who is just in front, battling for position in the P2AM category. This will be for 11th in class, and has done a nice job to get himself up to that position. We've got the stoppers in the P2AM category as well, as we approach now 13 minutes gone halfway in this race, and has already become one of the most chaotic races in the championship, as Alex Salmon hits from 2nd place.
So now we can see Salmon. Yep, he's firmly into the pits, and we've got a couple of drivers making their way through this LMP2 traffic now. Side by side through turn 1 just behind. This is of course Tim Perry, and he has got a 16-second lead over Liam Rance, who is in second in the P2 AM class. So he's got quite a substantial gap to the drivers behind him. He can just focus on his own lines, focus on the LMP2 drivers, or the LMP1 drivers coming up in his mirrors, getting out of their way or making sure that they don't make any contact, and just cruise to the end. There's still half an hour left though, so that is very much easier said than done.
Yeah, it certainly is. There's no such thing as cruising to the end in this championship. There's Lewis Woods, who's the leader in the LMP1 Pro category, and we just had Alex Salmon into the pit lane, so I would imagine that we're going to see the next one in. And let's see what happened to Matteo Graziano. He's not had the best day. Not having the best day out there. And there's Lewis Woods pitting from the lead of P1 Pro. In he comes in the Audi, and of course responding now to Alex Salmon, last pit box on the on this one. He'll be just taking fuel, no tires I would imagine for him, just going to be fueling to the end, and he'll be back out as Arias Mantis pits from second in class and puts Mateusz Drozda into the net race lead. Out comes Lewis Woods then, and he seems to me that he is going to be well clear of Alex Salmon, and is certainly there as they head down into turn 1. So Loki Brown is just ahead of him there, but there is Alex Salmon, absolutely nowhere near him really, and you can see he's nearly now about 10 seconds up to Lewis Woods, so not enough to try and go for an undercut there. And Lewis Woods comes out in the net race lead, but we still have Hutchinson yet to pit, and we'll see if he can do that. Here is Mateusz Drozda, who leads the P1 AM category with Lucky Brown second, but Arias Mantis has decided to go for an earlier stop. So Mateusz Drozda now, I'm sure, is going to respond to that one. On this lap behind, as I think there was contact into Ascari there for a couple of cars, and we'll have to see who that was, but it's certainly been oh, that was Leonard Rart again. He's had to take to the escape road in the chicane, and then one of the P2s also had to do the same thing. So Leonard Rart, a pole man, and now down to 4th in class. And I wonder, was there something between the P2 and the LMP1, as they both had to take to that escape road? And yeah, Leonard Rart, he never has any luck, does he, Leonard Rart? And he's obviously got that damage repaired, but it's not going well. There's Michele Costantini, who leads the P2 Pro category. These guys have not stopped yet. They'll be stopping a little bit shortly. They can go further into this race than the P1s. They've got a little bit more fuel efficiency. As there is Tim Perry, still hasn't stopped yet. Neither has Liam Rance, nor has Alessandro Alladone. It's Tim Perry now getting into some traffic here. Got to be careful as he makes his way through, but he's making up positions in the P2 Pro category at the same time that he's doing this. So he's doing an excellent job. He's got 15 seconds back to Liam Rance. As Leonard Rart is into the pit lane again from the 5th place, as Michele Costantini pits from the lead in P2 Pro. So they can go a little bit longer, of course, but it's not been, of course, the cleanest day for Michele Costantini, but even though he's clouted that massive curb in Ascari, he's actually led every single lap up until right this one as Jakub Viderka takes it.
Yeah, he's been really, really quick out there. And yeah, despite the damage that he no doubt has, he's managed to keep it out in front, and he'll be able to get that damage fixed, so you would imagine he would be able to extend his advantage after the pit stops. But looking back at Salmon, that's the second time now that we've seen him go into the pits and come out a good 5 seconds behind where he was. Woods gained around about 5 seconds on him during that pit stop phase. So we saw it last week as well with Yakubu. He managed to get past Yakubu, of course, at Silverstone last week to get back into the lead, but that doesn't seem like it's going to be the case this time. So yeah, Simon needs to work on that, because he's not going to be fighting for the championship if he's losing that much time in the pit stops every round.
Yep, always stuff to work on. Lucky Brown is just pitted from second in class. And now Liam Rance, of course, after Tim Perry's pit stop, is now your leader in the P2M category. As he continues around. He was our winner last week. And he's now, of course, yet to pit. So we wait to see him pitting. After Lucky Brown's pit stop, we have Arias Imantas now into second in the AM category. But Matej Drozda has not yet pitted from the lead of the AM category. He's also in the overall race lead at this moment in time. Here he is. So he's going to have to pit, I would imagine, quite shortly. I'm sure that fuel tank is run dry in that LMP1. He's going to pit this lap, as the majority of the rest of the P2 Pro category come in as well. Vidurka, Mlynek, McMahon, Zuitov, Kalistani, Skorupski, all in from their respective positions. Put some fuel in the car. Here is Michele Costantini, who is getting lapped by one of the LMP1s. He's 10th in class, and that was getting very close there, a little bit too close for comfort maybe for Costantini, but he does make it through safely. And that LMP1 comes straight into the pit lane anyways. So Costantini comes over the start finish, and he moves into the race lead. But you can see now, actually, after that pit stop, Jakub Vidurka has done an excellent job and has come out in front of Daniel Bucher for second place. He's come out second in front of him. So that's an excellent job, an excellent pit stop. But he's now, of course, with warmer tyres, Bucher's going to go straight past him by the looks of it, as Alessandro Zaladone and Liam Rance pits from the first and second position. Tim Perry should be able to get past them with relative ease. He had a 15-second lead before the pit stop, so he should be able to get past here as they all pit now for their first and only stops of the day. And across the line comes Tim Perry and retakes the leads, and comes out a good chunk in front of Liam Rance and Alessandro Zaladone, who leave the pit lane in tandem. There goes Liam Rance and there goes Zaladone, and they are on course for second and third in classes. Oh dear, that's Hugo Valentin, who's gone off in the middle of the Lesmos. I would imagine just took a little bit too much curb there. He's managed to survive. As the last pit stop for the LMP1 is going to be Mark Hutchinson, who picked from the lead. He's going to drop down at the order a good bit now when they pit. So all the pit stops done, but it's still going to be Lewis Woods at the head of the field.
Yep, there he goes. Up into the lead now with Hutchinson in the pits, but yeah, Salmon's caught up that gap quite a bit. So it seems the race might just be on for the overall lead of the race with just over 20 minutes to go. And it's like Hutchinson's just come out just behind Valentin. You can see there Valentin coming through turn 1 and Hutchinson just exiting the pit, so not too much time between those two, but less time between Woods and Salmon.
Yeah, Alex Salmon's been bringing that gap slowly down. We're going to ride on board with him now as he gets caught behind a bit of traffic. It's going to cost him a couple of tenths, but uses the boost out of Lesmo 2 to get himself past. So the battle is on for the race lead then overall, with 20 minutes left in this race. And we'll see who's going to come out on top in it, but Lewis Woods has controlled it after Leonard Roth made that damage. And Leonard is now back in P5, but just a second and a bit separating Lewis Woods and Alex Salmon. Alex Salmon, the winner from last week, of course. Let's see if he can go 2 in a row. He's going to come around Parabolica once again. Alex Salmon just trying to keep a decent gap to him. And there's right on board with him once again. So he gets past some traffic now. Of course, right now he's going to get a nice little toe down the front straight. You can see the gaps there. You gained 4 tenths on that lap. So Alex Salmon on the mission, 202 miles an hour on the brakes into the first corner. And yes, we do have a battle on our hands at last in LMP1 for the race, overall race, to win and win in category as well. And Matthias Drozda is doing an excellent job. I must say, he's leading his class. He's up to 3rd overall in the P1AM category, so he's on course for a double podium if he can hold on to that one. But we should see, as we can see, Bonsuado, 2 weeks in a row, he had a terrible one. He's unfortunately as well disconnected as well. So Demi Bonsuado, that's not gone well for him as we go back to the race lead. Lewis Woods under severe pressure from Alex Salmon. Now this is for the net race lead. He's looking to the inside for Ascari, but he can't quite get through. Now Lewis Woods, can he hang on? There's still 20 minutes left. It'll just take to 19 minutes to go in this race. And Alex Salmon is looking very threatening on the back of this Audi, closing up with the slipstream. Look at the slipstream effect as they head towards Parabolica. He's going to look to the inside of Parabolica, and he's going to take the lead of this race, the ARL Prototypes Championship. But it's going to be a cutback line for Alex Salmon as they come through the last corner, and Alex Salmon is going to get right up alongside him and boost back past on the inside line and retakes it. And now Salmon, what does he do here? Does he use the boost again, or does he slipstream pass? He gets past again, so 2 overtakes to the space of the straight, but Alex Salmon cuts him off as they head into the chicane, and Alex Salmon now takes the lead here in Monza, round 2 of the ARL Prototypes Championship, and it seems to have found that pace from absolutely nowhere, but that battle is not going to end there, as we have a battle for 2nd in the LMP2 Pro category as well, on board with Daniel Bucher as he chases after Jakob Federka, who was 2nd in class. Now, what does he do? One of the LP1s goes straight through the middle there. That was great driving from the both of them there to move out of the way, and the LP1 has to go straight on anyway. That was Matt Hutchinson who had to go straight on in the first chicane as he chases after 3rd place in class. And they're going, oh, Juventus has to try and stack up here, and the P2s are having a little bit of an awkward moment here. This is going to be an opportunity for Daniel Bucher to get through on the inside, maybe. No, he's going to hang back and wait for that one, but iRacing Mantis had to back off on the throttle there. He had nowhere to go between them, and as well, it looks like a slowdown now for Daniel Bucher as well. Cut too much of that chicane, and he's going to lose. He's not going to lose any positions, but there you go. But here we go, Dane. Great to see a battle for the overall lead between these two, and Alex Salmon back in the lead, but Lewis Woods is not letting him go.
Absolutely not, and the problem when you overtake in these cars is you really have to do it without using too much extra boost, because the second you use a bit more boost to try and get past someone, especially in some of these overtaking zones like into Parabolica, you use too much boost into there and your opponent can just boost straight back past you down the next straight. So Salmon did well there to use a little bit of extra boost to get past Woods and stay ahead of Woods, but then still not leave himself too vulnerable for another attack from the driver behind. So he's up into the lead, and he's looks to be extending that lead just a little bit, as we have just over 15 minutes left to go in the race.
This battle is still going on between Matteo Calistani and Zwiedhoff, who as they come round the last corner. A little bit of a poor run for Zwiedhoff there. He's going to have to get the benefit of the slipstream down towards turn 1. Let's see, they're getting dragged up to the back of him, but I don't know if he's going to be close enough to actually make an overtake here. I don't know if he's going to try it or not, but nope, not quite able to do so. And Calistani still hanging on as we have, oh dear, that's Matt James, and has he crashed on the pit entry? It seems to me that that's the entry to the pit lane for Matt James, and I wonder, has he got that very wrong on the way in, and has managed to, I think he's managed to get that wedged. There you go, there he is, and oh, he has got going again, but that's a little bit of an embarrassing moment for Matt James there, getting it stuck on the pit entry, but he has got back going again. But as you can see, he just got it a bit wrong, and it happens. But it was just a little bit of a strange one. It's almost like it's almost like he maybe got a rear wheel on the grass, and just the car just completely went on him.
Yeah, that was an odd one. A very weird place to lose the car. Of course, pretty heavy braking in a fairly short time, trying to make that braking zone as short as possible into the pits. But oh, there's a car off in the background. That might, no, it's not. battle, and there's a car off right there. That is that Healy in the 316. That was two LMP2s off in the space of 2 corners. On the outside, he's now getting flashed by the drivers behind, and there's an Audi on the way through as well. But now we've got Jones with Edwards just behind. This is the battle for 8th in the P2 AM class. And we've got Porsche, and that is Lucky Brown, and he looks like he's spun it out of the first chicane.
Yeah, it seems to me that he has. Lucky Brown, who was running in 3rd in class, I think he still managed to hang on to it, but loops it around in the first corner, and has to take to the escape road, do a bit of grass cutting. And Maciej Mlinek, what's happened to him now? Unfortunately, I can't see, but right, okay, so that was the contest. So Maciej Mlinek sending Lucky Brown around. Seemed to be an unusual contact there, but he's managed to hang on to a position anyway. He wasn't chasing after, he wasn't on the back of RUC Mantis, but he's hanging on to a podium in class at least as Lucky Brown, the Australian, and keeps going for now. But Alex Salmon has opened the gap out by a second over Lewis Woods. 2.6 it now stands at, and Lewis Woods is now unable to keep the pace of the man out front. So there you can see the difference in the lap time. Average of about 7-8 tenths of a second, only 2 tenths of a second on the previous lap. But Alex Salmon has just kind of come out of that pace out of nowhere, really. Lewis Woods is in complete control, and then all of a sudden Alex Salmon just seems to have woken up and has pulled that gap out. Something amazing there. He's done an excellent job. Fabio Figuccio has been in the pit lane multiple times. He's still going. There's another LMP2 around in the first corner. That is P5 in class. That's Charles Collignon, as he has entered turn 1, and again facing the wrong way. It's been this has been a real race of attrition, hasn't it, Dane?
Yeah, absolutely. We've seen cars off left, right, and centre. And yeah, there's very few of the drivers have actually survived without incident. Even the race leader in LMP2 Pro, Michele Costantini, he's had his fair share of issues as well. And he's a little bit sideways after the second decimal stage. He's got a car ahead of him. But Tim Perry, and he has lost around about 5 seconds since the pit stops to Rance just behind. Oh, I say just behind, about 10 seconds behind, as Perry's got to deal with the Porsche trying to lap him.
Yeah, you can see on the Delta there, that's just on sheer pace by the looks of it. For Liam Rance, he's pulled about a couple of seconds, or a couple of tenths a lap, 7-8 tenths a lap, and has brought the gap down to 9.5 seconds with 12 minutes to go. If he starts pulling a second a lap, then that might just do it. He could catch up, but it's still a big gap to bring down. Michele Costantini, he is still in the lead, of course, by 9.4 seconds now over Jakub Viderka in second. So he's still holding on to clouts that curb on the way through the chicane. And it's not been the cleanest race for him, of course. He had that big off in Ascari, but hasn't looped it around, hasn't spun it, and has managed to hold on. Mateusz Drozda had actually had a quiet one, really, in comparison to everyone else. He's in the lead of the P1AM category, which was won by Daniel Civi-Zabo in 4th place last week. RAC Mantis in 2nd, but he's got 15 seconds, 16 seconds actually, to the man in front, which is Mateusz Drozda, who's controlled it basically from the very beginning. And back to P1 Pro. Alex Salmon taking the lead a couple of laps ago over Lewis Woods, who was controlling it in the first half. But the second half is all Alex Salmon, and he's on course for 2 in a row in the ARL Prototypes Championship as well. It's one of the P2s goes a little bit wide, and Alex Salmon has to make his way past on the inside. Oh, we got a car around on the exit Lesmo 2, and that car's going to have to be very careful getting back going again, and does do so. But yeah, this has been a chaotic race, to say the least. And I will have to have a look back later on. That was Kevin Kittleman who looped it around at Lesmo 2. I will have to have a look back later on at that huge stack up there. As we see now, Kevin Kittleman, Lesmo 2. This is just on the way to Lesmo 2. Turns it in. And
Oh.
gets sent around.
Get some help.
Yeah, got a lot of help from one of the cars there. I couldn't quite see who that was, but yeah, he definitely got a lot of help from a car there, and that car is definitely damaged. After that, let's see if we can see who that was. As we see now, was that Tim Perry off the grass? No, that was Michael Seal there going around. Here's Michael Seal, who had that car go off in front of him as they come through. Now, here we go. Kevin Kittleman in front. And we can see this is Alexander Gavil, who, yeah, big help. He couldn't actually get rid of the car off his front. And into the barrier he goes. So Alexander Gavil, the helping hand in that one. Back to this battle, who's still going on, Dane, between Kalistani and Sweethoff, and they've been inseparable for the best part of 15-20 minutes.
Yeah, there's another damaged car in the background there going very slowly, another LMP2. But yeah, you can see already, just looking at the timing tower, lots of drivers a lap down or more. And the field quite spread out in LMP2 with a couple of drivers sharing similar stretches of tarmac. And then a little bit of a gap to the next, but quite a few of the drivers still involved in some kind of battle. And yeah, we can see on the timing tower as well, the leaders have got quite a lot of a gap. So Salmon's got a 3-second gap to Woods, Drosta's got a 16-second gap to Yamantis, and Costantini has a 10-second gap to Vedurka as well in LMP2 Pro. And I would imagine it's a fairly similar story for Tim Perry in LMP2 AM as well, as we've got a couple of drivers here in LMP2 Pro making their way through turn 1 with only 8 minutes left in the race. It's getting to crunch time now. If you want to make a move on someone, you probably should try and do it as soon as possible.
Sweethoff might just listen to you here in the slipstream down towards the second chicane. No, he's not going to do that just yet. He's been following Teo Kalistani for a good chunk of the race now. And he's had to stick behind. You can see Tim Perry is actually now controlling that gap, and it's opened out between himself and Liam Rance to about 10 seconds now. It was 9.5, but Tim Perry kind of responding to it now and hanging on. This is the battle. This is Carter Hutcherson and Pennington for 13th in class as they head through the second chicane. Hanging on nicely. Oh, that's James Holman in the gravel in the chicane, and he's going to have to wait now and trying to get past. There's actually another car in there as well. That's was that Neumann, I think, in the gravel? No, it wasn't Neumann in the gravel, but James Holman having to restart through there. And we'll just see here now. This is James Holman. We're going to watch here, and completely misses the braking point, and just wipes out that second car there. And that was a strange incident. He just completely missed the braking point. Just go straight into the innocent party in front, which was appeared to me that it was a case of, I don't think that was intentional, but that was not what yeah, David Ward. And the worst part, I think, Dane, is the worst person to take out, it's your teammate.
Absolutely, the worst person to take out in a race is your teammate. I've done that a couple of times. It is absolutely awful when you happen to take out your teammate. Rule number 1 of racing, that is, don't take out your teammate, and unfortunately that's what's just happened there. But Alex Salmon has no teammates in this race, so he's safe for that in that respect, as he goes 3 wide with a couple of LMP2s. And he is a good 5.6, 5.7, almost 6 seconds clear at the top of the timing tower at the moment. Just over 5 minutes left to go. He's looking pretty good for the overall win, 2 in a row.
It certainly is, and he's driven a great race. So I'm kind of beginning to suspect that that's Liam Rance has come into the pit lane a second time, and he's still safe in third at the moment, I think, just about. But I'm going to suspect that Lewis Woods may have been carrying damage of some kind, because the pace has just fallen off so large. I think it could have been something similar to what Leonard Rarts suffered. We'll see. We'll probably hear afterwards. from a few of the drivers with 5 minutes left on the clock now. As Kalistani and Sweethoff are still going at it for that 6th place in class, and Sweethoff is just unable to get past. And this is very, very frustrating for him. And we'll see if he's eventually going to be able to do this. He's in the slipstream now as they head through Curva Grande. But still, I don't think it's going to be quite enough of a move on for him here. But if he wants to get past, he's going to have to do it in the next couple of laps, because there's not many laps left. Riding on board with him now as they head through the second chicane up towards Lesmo 1 and Lesmo 2. And coming into a bit of traffic here. The P2 AMs, I think they're coming up to now. And Sweethoff, maybe this might be his opportunity to use this to his advantage. So let's see if he's able to do it. He doesn't get a great exit out of Lesmo 2. And Kalistani is going to use that lap traffic in front to get... Oh, he's got the contact in front! Oh, that nearly ended much, much worse, but that LMP2 in the background is massively damaged, and Kalistani just got into the back of him. I think there was a misjudgment there as he pulled out of the slipstream and got into the back of him, and unfortunately that's caused big, big damage to that other LMP2, which was, as far as we can see, that was Empringham, I think that was, Ryan Empringham, who has unfortunately been the innocent party there, and has been wiped out by Kalistani. As Sweethoff has got it done on them now, and Kalistani is carrying damage as well, so Sweethoff eventually makes it past, but just a misjudgment. That's so unfortunate. I feel really bad for Empringham there. He was completely innocent and ends up in the wall.
Yeah, and unfortunately for Kalistani as well, you have to assume he's got a meatball flag, because I don't see any other reason he would pull into the pits to fix some damage with only 3 minutes left in the race, so very unfortunate for... Actually, he doesn't need to pit anyway, even if he has a meatball flag, so the damage must have been quite severe. iRacing literally get away with finishing with a meatball flag. You don't get a penalty for that. Clearly, he doesn't know that. So that is unfortunate for him. He's going to lose a lot of positions because of that. I think he's just about got back on the circuit now, behind the P2 AM leader, Tim Perry. There he is. But that was an interesting one, because yeah, he didn't need to pit at all if the damage wasn't bad enough that he couldn't drive, but it seemed like he could, so yeah, that's an odd one.
Well, I've just seen here Liam Rance has lost his podium spot, but he's trying to get past Alex Moore at a big heap of oversteer through the Parabolica. And this is now a battle that's going to go to the flag between the both of these now. Alex Moore versus Liam Rance for 3rd place in class, but a huge kick of oversteer for Liam Rance, and well held through the Parabolica for him. This is last week's winner, of course, and through the chicane gets on the power. So this is going to go right to the flag. I think 20 seconds up to Daladonna. So Daladonna is safe where he is in that 2nd place, but it's a further 10 up to Armand, I believe it now. Liam Rance with a great run. There goes one of the LMP1s. Here comes Liam Rance, going to go for it on the inside. Out breaks Alex Moore, and through he goes. Lovely overtake by Liam Rance, and got it nice and clean through. But Alex Moore coming straight back at him on the exit as they come into Lesmo 1. An outside line, switchback line maybe for Alex Moore. Going to try and get up underneath him for Lesmo 2. A little bit of a twitch for Liam Rance, but Moore is almost touching him as they come through Lesmo 2. Now trying with the slipstream, he should be able to get a nice run into Ascari. Watch out for the LMP1 on the outside. But here comes Alex Moore coming back in the outside line for Ascari. Great battle between these guys in the AM category. Can Alex Moore go around the outside of Ascari? He's going to have a go, but it runs out of room. And Liam Rance is now with a decent gap as they head down towards the Parabolica for the 2nd to last time, I would imagine. And good job from him as Danny. Oh, that's Faguccios. Have to go straight on in the 1st chicane. So here we go. The white flag is going to come out for Alex Salmon on this lap with just 40 seconds left on the clock. And it's been a great race from him. And he's driven a sublime race all the way through. But white flag in the air for him. And oh, Faguccio is off in, I think that's the 2nd chicane. Yes, it is, and he's gone into the wall there, and is now just trundle to the end. Here we go, Liam Rance, he's trying to fend off Alex Moore, but this is the last lap now, so you can see Moore is going to have to try and get a run on him there, but he tried to go for the inside line, but Liam Rance did very, very well to hang on to that as they come round Curva Grande. But Liam Rance is your championship leader in the P2 AM category, so every little point counts. He's got a bit of a massive slide through the second chicane, and Alex Morris, that's his opportunity now to try and come back at him. But Liam France is pushing really, really hard here to try and hang on to this podium. This is a great fight that we like to see in the AM category. Through Lesmo 2, they come for the final time, and another twitch from Rance as they exit there, and down towards Ascari they will come for the last time. A great run for Alex Moore. Here we go. He's going to move to the outside line. This is for third in class. Here comes Alex Moore to the outside. Rance will hang out on the inside, and he does hang on to it, but Alex Moore is going to back off and try and get a run towards Parabolica. And through Parabolica they come. Can he do it? I'm not sure he's going to be quite able to. But Alex Salmon round the Parabolica while we're talking about it, with Costantini just behind him as well. It's Alex Salmon, 2 in a row. He wins in Monza. Costantini wins the P2 Pro category as well. Likes the flag victory. But it's going to be Drozda who's going to win the P1 AM category. And Tim Perry will take the Pro at the P2 AM category, as now we see Rance is going to hang on for third versus Alex Moore, and the checker flag comes out for them. Daladone is second, and Tim Perry is going to hang on for the P2 AM category. We will still have to wait for him, but excellent fight between those in the AM category. Mateusz Drozda is a first win for him in the P1 AM category. Alex Salmon twice in a row, but Tim Perry is going to be the man as we just wait for him to come through Ascari for the last time. He is the guts of half a lap in front of the rest of the P2 AM category. So he's done a great drive today and has held on the whole way through. Comes through the Parabolica for the last time. And Tim Perry will stand on the top step of the podium in the P2 AM category, beating out last week's winner Liam Rance. And it's going to be P1 for Tim Perry. And that is the field rounded out for today. But Alex Salmon, 2 in a row, but definitely battle of the race between Liam Rance and the guys behind. That was a fantastic fight to the flag between him and Alex Moore. But Alex Salmon did the job, and has not easy to go 2 in a row in a league this competitive, but he's done it.
Absolutely, finding pace. Seemingly out of nowhere, he seemed like he was going to be a good 5-10 seconds back after the pit stops with about 30 minutes to go. Didn't seem to be on the pace at all, and then all of a sudden, out comes that pace, and he pretty much gained just over a second almost every single lap for the rest of the race to take the win by 7 seconds, as you can see on the screen. Hugo Valentin finished in third in P1 Pro, then Mark Hutchinson, Lennart Vrat. Really unfortunate race for Lennart once again, unlucky. And then Ismail Yakubu, of course, caught up in that lap 1 for the LMP2s, lap 2 for the LMP1's incident there. And then in LMP1 AM, Mateusz Drozda taking the win here. And then Arias Yamantis in second, Loki Brown in third, and then Civisabo in fourth, a lap down, as was Flavio Figuccio, with Matt James finishing 4 laps down in LMP1.
Here we are with LMP2 then. Again, 2 in a row for Michele Costantini for Apex Racing Team, with Jakub Widerka in second, Daniel Bucher in third, Maciek Mlinek and Tom McMahon in fifth, Mark Sweethoff in sixth, Krzysztof Skorupski, Alexander Gavil, Matteo Graziano and Maximilian Bailey. There's Carter Hutchinson, Luke Pennington, Ivo Laubscher, Arcadius Neumann, Matteo Calistani, James Holman, Bruno Aguirre, Julian Bell. And then just outside there, we only had, of course, 20 cars in there. Well, a bit more than 20 cars, but Marcel Van Den, David Ward, Jeremy Bonsada, these are all DNFs. Cam Stark, Brian Cavito, Mads Gravson, Ryan Littlemore, Seb Toynison, and Matty Chambers. 36 laps down, did not take, was all caught up in that massive lap 1 incident for the LMP2 Pros. I'm sure that's what we're going to be seeing with the P2 AMs when we get to the final results. And of course, it is Tim Perry who is your winner with a lap in front of Alessandro Daladone. That's basically a demolition of the field by Tim Perry. Liam Rance in third had to fight for it hard against Alex Moore. Charles Collignon, Kevin Kittleman, Michael Seal, Corey Edwards, Jonathan Keane, Craig Jones, Shane Dunn, David Nichols, Sasha Lowe. And basically all these guys were caught up in the lap 1 incident. Jus Baumeister, Nathan Healy, Lee Balmer, Ryan Eppringham, and Jackson Bell. And then, of course, further down, just outside there, outside the top 20, will be Jason Marcal and Marcel Leclerc in 20th place in class. But the big talking point through that, of course, was the humongous crash that we saw in that lap one for the LMP2s, and that's going to be replayed many, many times over when we get to the end of the season, of course. But yeah, it's been a good race, and we're going to round it off, of course, by having a chat with our respective winners. So we have, I believe, Alex Salmon and Tim Perry are standing by. So I'm going to have a quick chat with Alex Salmon. Let's drag him in and have a quick chat with our LMP1 race winner. Alex Salmon, welcome back into the commentary box. It's 2 in a row for yourself. Were you expecting to get that one? Because Lewis Woods looked like he was in control for most of that one. But either way, he managed to find pace and get to the end.
Yeah, no, like really unlucky for Lewis. Like, I was just talking to him there, and yeah, I think he had damage from a P2. He had the legs on me. Today we went super conservative and just focused on, points because there was a lot going on. So yeah, we just went super conservative, and yeah, unfortunately for Lewis, he had a bit of contact with a P2, and that was it, which is sad. But
Yeah, of course. Yeah, we want to talk about that lap one, or lap two, sorry, when you guys came around again. What was your thoughts coming around Lesmo 2 to find a big car park of LMP2s?
yeah, so I had a bit of pre-warning of it. Thankfully, Taylor, who was helping me out for this race, she was there spotting me, and yeah, I had pre-warning. I heard there's lots of cars dead on the back straight, and I was like, okay, thinking maybe one or two. No, it's the whole P2 field. So yeah, that was interesting. That was definitely a new experience. But yeah, it's Monza. I mean, we've seen it happen before.
Yeah, certainly have. So we have, of course, heading into next week. Do you think you can go 3 in a row, or is that a little bit too much to ask?
Well, I wasn't expecting this one, so I'm not going to expect anything at Road America. I think I've just got to play it safe now. I mean, we've seen kind of what can happen to people in this race in P1s, where you just get caught up in a few little incidents. So I think for me, it's just play it safe. Anything in the top 5 will do for me next week.
Great stuff. Well, Alex, thanks for joining us. Before we let you go, is there anyone you'd like to give a quick shout out to or thank you to?
Yeah, I'd like to thank the guys at OCM Racing yet again. They've helped me out a lot this week, which has been awesome. And yeah, Motion Motoring and Elevate, who helped those guys kind of in return. And yeah, Taylor Mills again. She's was awesome in that race, and yeah, I really needed that eye in the sky. So yeah, thank you.
Absolutely. Alex, thanks for joining us. Hopefully we'll be talking to you next week, and congratulations on your second victory.
Brilliant, thank you.
Excellent. So that was our race winner, Alex Salmon, joining us. We have a couple more standing by, Dane. We have Tim Perry, Michele Costantini, and Alessandro. So I'll leave it up to you.
Well, I think next place to go is the LMP2 overall winner. Let's get Michele Costantini into the commentary booth for a quick chat. Michele, welcome. Can you hear us?
Yeah, I can. Hello, guys.
Well, once again, LMP2 Pro winner. This time it was a race, more a race of attrition. We saw lots of drivers getting involved in their own incidents, you included, at Ascari. Did you get actually, before we start about talking about the race, did you get quite a bit of damage from that massive curve strike at Ascari?
Surprisingly, I didn't. At first, I thought I did, but then, yeah, apparently not. When I went in the pits for my scheduled stop, I didn't have any optional repairs, so I guess I got quite lucky, even though I did that in practice a few times as well. And I still didn't get that much damage, even when I did. It was like 1 second of optionals. So it was not. You don't really get a big damage when you strike that curb too hard, and it's a faster way to go on top of it. So I think it's worth the risk because you gain about a tenth if you get over the curb properly through there.
Well, and you pretty much dominated the race once again. It was fairly close at the start, but once you got that gap up just a little bit, you managed to extend that quite substantially throughout the race. How was traffic? Because there was obviously a massive incident on lap 1 behind you in the LMP2 field, so you were having to lap quite a few more LMP2s this week than last week.
Yeah, I actually didn't see the crash in my mirrors, so it caught me by surprise when I saw a few LMP2s exiting the pits on lap 2 or 3. So yeah, I had to start to get lapping pretty early on in the race, which was not ideal, but still pulled through with not too many issues. So can be quite happy with that. And yeah, I think I've also overfueled a little bit in the stop, so I lost some time in the pits as well, which was quite worrying. But nothing to be too concerned about because I still had a pretty decent gap, and everybody was out of my draft, so that was the main thing. And then at the end, it was just about managing the gap and pulling the car to the win at the end of the race.
Well, with 2 wins under your belt now, with we're nearing halfway through the season, fairly short season in the prototype series for season 1. Must be feeling pretty confident for the rest of the rounds going forward.
Yeah, I'm quite enjoying it actually. Monza, I don't feel like Monza is one of my best tracks. So yeah, because you can't really make a big gap here. It's mostly straights and very few corners. But and I don't really feel like it's one of my favorite tracks and some of the tracks where I'm faster at. But yeah, so I'm looking forward for the next ones and looking forward to keep going like this.
Absolutely. Well, Michele, thanks so much for joining us for a quick chat after another dominating performance from yourself. Before we let you go, is there anyone you'd like to give a shout out to?
Yeah, I would like to thank you guys for the broadcast at Apex Racing TV, all of the guys at Apex Racing Team for the help, and all of our sponsors. So yeah, thank you guys.
Oh, that was P1 in LMP2 Pro Michele Constantini in for a quick word with us, Jack, and it was good to hear from him. Yep, and we will, of course, now hear from our final race winner tonight is, of course, the LMP2 winner. It is, of course, Tim Perry. Tim, welcome in for the first time, first win in the championship. Bit of a chaotic one behind you mostly, but thankfully you managed to stay out of it.
Yeah, it was absolutely crazy. That first lap was nuts. We got through the first corner okay, and then but coming into that second chicane, I got absolutely rear-ended, and I honestly thought my race was over. But for some reason, there was some sort of glitch, and I didn't even get a 4x. So yeah, after that, it was much easier. I think that was my one bit of luck for the race.
Did you manage to catch a glimpse of that humongous accident behind you, where you just eyes forward, keep going?
No, I literally just kept going, and I saw it back on the replay, and I was like, "Wow!" I had no idea. I'm so pleased I wasn't like 1 or 2 cars back. You know, I think my qualifying really helped me there.
Yeah, certainly did. And yeah, I just wanted to, of course, there was a lot more traffic around because of that huge accident. So, how was it dealing with the LMP1s and the LMP2s that were lapping you, while also you yourself trying to get around other LMP2 traffic? It must have been quite tricky.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, it was very varied. So some LMP2s were really polite about it, and I could get past them no problems at all. A few others were a bit trickier, but on the whole, I'd say actually the LMP2s were fine. The LMP1s were fine on the whole. And when the pros came up behind me, if they were a little bit quicker, I just let them go. To be honest, I was just trying to focus on where the other AMs were.
Yeah, of course. Next week can we expect another win from Tim Perry, or are we thinking too much ahead, or what's the plan going forward?
So yeah, Road America is one of my favourite circuits, so hopefully it should be good. But I mean, I was kind of super motivated for this one after Liam's comments last race, where he was saying, "Oh, I picked my way through the field," when actually he kind of took me out last race. So I was kind of really motivated for this one. I put in tons and tons of practice to make sure I could beat him. So hopefully I can carry that motivation through to the next race.
Excellent. Well, before we let you go, Tim, is there anyone you'd like to give a quick thank you to or a shout out to while we're on stream?
Yeah, just a big thanks to my team, Cabot, basically. We're really trying to go for the AM title this year, so that's very motivating as well. Got a good group of guys all kind of putting in the same direction. So, yeah, we're hopefully going to score some more solid points next week.
Well, Tim, thanks a million for joining us. Congratulations on your win, and hopefully we'll be chatting to you after Road America next week.
Cheers, thank you very much.
So, and lastly, I'm going to give this one to Dane, of course. We have one of our own joining us. Dane, Alessandro is standing by.
Absolutely. Well, a couple of days ago, well, yeah, let's get him in first of all, Alessandro. Well, a couple of days ago, you interviewed me after I was competing in an ARL event, and now the roles are reversed as I get to chat with you after you finish second place.
Yeah, thank you, Dane. Really, really happy. And I'm really glad to be here too, because I missed round one just because I'm lazy and signed up too late. Even though I knew already when sign-ups were open, but let's forget that. But either way, I survived at the worst track possible in humanity, Monza, so hopefully it can go only in better coming. And this is only thanks to this great mindset. I asked one question before the race. How can I survive? And the race, my only answer was, how Marco Barbanera would survive turn 1 at Monza. So I completely went off track to avoid any carnage, so that nobody was coming there, and that's the only way I survived turn 1 and also the following accident. Either way, I'm really happy. Not a single incident point apart from the 2-4X and the rallycross excursions, but yeah, really happy, second place. And I was not sandbagging because I'm terrible, and you will see also next week.
That's a response to the private commentators chat where Marco was saying that you were sandbagging after qualifying. You only qualified, I believe it was 5th in class, but quite a bit further down in the overall LMP2 standings. Well, yeah, that was a pretty good way of avoiding any incidents at turn 1, is just to not take turn 1 at all. That's one I've not heard before.
Yeah, definitely Marco reminds me of that great excursion he had a few years ago in the Aston Martin when he used to race some decent cars instead of Mazdas and TCRs, but definitely that's the only way you can survive at Monza. So I'm really, really happy, and big kudos to the guys of Commentatori Squadre Corse. So first ever race for this new team, and I finished it. So it's already a victory.
And you finished in the second step of the podium as well. So you must be feeling pretty happy heading into the next round at, I believe, Road America.
Well, if I finish any race with this car, I'm always happy, because this track, this track and this car is the worst combination on iRacing, in my opinion. I miss so much the HPD. Bring them back, please, because this car is atrocious.
Well, Alessandro, it's always a joy to have you in the commentary booth, and congrats on the second place in P2AM. But before we let you go, is there anyone you'd like to give a shout out to?
Yeah, to all the drivers that survived the first lap, for sure, because that was completely mayhem, and to the guys who gave me the double 4X in the opening laps that unfortunately gave me the 3 bonus malus points at the end of the race, because I got exactly 10 incident points.
Well, Alessandro, thanks so much for joining us, and hopefully we can see you for the next one.
Yeah, I hope so, if I survive.
Well, we definitely hope you do. I'll be waiting for you next week. Yeah, thanks so much for joining us. Yeah.
Have a good day, guys.
Yeah, you too.
Oh my word, what an interview. Oh, brilliant for Alessandro. Of course, for those of you who are unfamiliar, Alessandro is one of the commentators here as well. He is absolutely hilarious, and that's a highlight for the future, that one. So, yeah, that was the second round of the ARL Prototypes Championship. We hope that you enjoyed that, and we are going to be back next week for Road America, which is going to be absolutely brilliant. It's obviously a much longer circuit than Monza, plenty more overtaking opportunities, tight in places, but we've obviously got that big long straight after turn 2 which is going to provide some great overtaking opportunity. But to everyone, thank you so much, of course, to all our sponsors, to SDK Gaming, of course, for provide these brilliant graphics on screen, to the Apex Racing Academy, to the Virtual Racing School, and to the Apex Racing Leagues, of course, to all the organisers for setting this up. And, of course, a big thank you to Dane for joining me and for Marco for providing the cameras for tonight. So thank you all for joining, and we will see you all at the same time next week on Apex Racing TV and on the Apex Racing TV Twitch channel, which we're moving over to. So make sure to follow the Twitch channel. So thank you all for joining. We'll see you next week. Good night.